What does the world think of salespeople? How would they describe a typical salesperson? Go.
Annoying.
Annoying.
Pushy.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Pushy.
No product knowledge.
No product knowledge.
No follow-up.
Oblivious to
No, oblivious, yes.
Motivated only by money.
Are we only thinking of car salesmen?
No, this is generally the world. This is generally what you get. Who else had one? Oh, only motivated by money, okay.
Hucksters.
Hucksters.
Liars.
Hucksters.
Politicians.
Liars. Huckster is kind of a snake oil. Yeah, okay, so when you take a look at this, go back to the neuroscience. Prospect knows a salesperson's coming in. What is the amygdala doing? Danger, danger, danger. Yeah, and then if you go in and you don't apply some of these sales skills, it's like validated, got to end this meeting quick. All right, so I'm going to run you through real quick. This is a very sometimes scenario. And depending on your business, type of sales, et cetera, that can happen. But let's say the lead generation's worked, you've done those 5 competencies, you go into a first meeting. Now, what's the buyer expecting you to do based on all the other salespeople there in the world? What are they expecting you to do?
To do all that stuff.
Expecting you to do, how many of you were taught to overcome the objection? That's a really dumb technique, by the way. You know what the objection is, why don't you talk about it? Why don't you bring it up? Right, that's a little side note. So they'll think you're gonna ask the leading questions, do trial closes, aren't they waiting for that? Yeah, or they're expecting you to do a bunch of product knowledge, go into dump mode, just educate me. Now, salespeople, because there's a lot of books out there, training now, our expectation is we want to consult. We want to uncover needs.
Spin.
We want to uncover probe. Yes, spin selling, all right? Here's the problem, you guys. You didn't manage the expectations, so too often we'll see what we call, oops, this one isn't working, is a wrestling match going on. And it's where you start, the prospect may go along for 2 or 3 questions and they start locking up and they start actually reversing the call and you turn into a high-paid answering machine, sometimes. Now, they have done something that we call taken control. You're starting to lose control. And here's where we often see what the term in sales training is called free consulting starts. Could be 1 call, 2 years, depending what you're at. But basically, you guys, put something together. Now, you have not run a full-blown sales call, so you put something together, you come back whatever time you come back, and you go back for the close and you hear the stall. What are some of the stalls you hear?
Talk to my partner.
Need to talk to my partner, even though you asked the question, are you the decision maker? All right, you asked the appropriate question. Okay, what else do you hear? Is this too much money? Budget. But when you ask them, what do you have in the budget? I have no idea, put something together. You start to see how this all makes sense. Any other ones? Timing?
not a necessity or not a priority.
Not a priority.
Too much.
Yeah, too much. Okay, so part of it you got rushed through your process, but here's what they do, because most of them are actually nice people. They'll say, give me a call in 2 weeks. So now the chase mode thing's called. You call in 2 weeks, you get voicemail. So you wait 3.5 days because you don't want to look like that flip chart, and you send an email. Then they don't respond to the email, so you go 5 days because you don't, you want to look a little aloof, and you put in another phone call. You have now called 3 times, contacted them 3 times. They are not returning your call. What are you starting to turn into? Yeah, a stalker. And this is when the words, they are now hiding, you are seeking, and this is when you get into the beginning of sometimes that crazy chase mode. So for people that are managing salespeople, one of the things we'll say, who's motivated to go through that? That might be where some of the motivation drops. So let's take you through some basic principles of sales and influence to get out of some of this. So let's go to the next page. And let's talk about likability. Now, when you study true likability, there's about 6 communication models you should be familiar with. We use DISC, but there's Myers-Briggs. You guys know Myers-Briggs? Know those tools. There can be Cialdini's work on influence. There's 6 principles of commonality, influence, reciprocity. Those are great to understand. We're going to talk about NLP today. How many of you are familiar with NLP? Oh, I knew a lot in the room. Have you guys? Yes. Do we even need to cover this step? Who doesn't know about NLP? Neuro-linguistic programming?
Know anything about it?
Well, then we'll cover it for you, and all the coaches in the room can help. All right. Now, and we're going to hit the high point here. This is a pretty in-depth communication model. What we're going to talk about is how it relates to likability on a first meeting, and then as you go into some of the more technical selling skills, how it comes into play. But Bandler and Grinder are actually given the credit for this. I don't know if I'm matching my little thing. Is it Grinder? I've been saying that wrong for years. Thank you for correcting me. And what they did is with their research, they were fascinated by why were some people more successful, not successful. Now, there's a whole bunch of things that play into this. One of the things they uncovered is that they had this great ability to build rapport quickly. Now, what they noted, one of their concepts, and as I said, very in-depth model, is that these people that had the ability to rapport naturally matched and mirrored whoever they talked to. 3 areas that they looked at and discovered. The first was body language, what we'd call physiology. The 2 that we focus on in sales is energy level. Now, here's what good old-fashioned sales training teaches that kills people. Be enthusiastic. Anybody heard that? So you got all these salespeople walking into meetings like this, be enthusiastic. Now, has anybody ever called on an engineer? Or an accountant?
Or an AD.
Yeah, and so you're just killing these people, but see, the salesperson thinks it's appropriate because I was taught to be, enthusiastic. Deal, this isn't working. The other area is actual body language. So when you take a look at it, when you're other focused, you're paying attention, and I'm going to gradually match and mirror body language. Actually, if they have their arms folded, doesn't throw me. I fold my arms a lot. I think they're heavy. That's why I do it, for some reason. But I might fold them like this. If they've got their leg crossed like this, I may cross like this. Now think about this from the neuroscience. The research shows that it's the subconscious mind that makes the decision to like and connect. Remember the amygdala? So if I'm coming in and I'm your same energy level, and you're looking at someone that looks like you, what's the signal amygdala is getting? This could be safe, all right? Now there's another area. It's called tonality. 2 percentages here because it can range. And tonality, where we focus in sales training the most, is rate and volume. You can get into type of words, we won't this evening because it's a little more advanced, but if you think about it, if you can match and mirror someone's rate of speech and volume, you're communicating like them. Now remember when we had the fight or flight up here? And when we get nervous, what do we tend to do?
Speed up.
Speed up, and you're making a major disconnect here. All right? When you get on the phone, when we have seen people doing cold calling, what do you think the biggest thing we have to work with them on? Tonality. They talk way too fast. They're not listening to their prospect. So I have a large client, and he runs a big oil drilling company. Very kinesthetic. And when you're meeting with Tom, he's very low key. He looks down to the right when he talks because he processes. Takes his time to respond, and then he'll answer. Now, how many of these kinesthetics do you think get beat up in life? Because you got the high visual salesperson that's using their hands and they're being yippee-skippy here. So watch this one, you guys, because you're breaking a major rule of rapport here. Now, what's not up on the chart? Verbal. Which is interesting. Most of the research, and we spend a lot of time on scripts, what to say, etc., but most of the research is saying, you know what, it's only about 7%. Yeah, actually what you're saying. Because you know what, if I'm not connecting with you, I'm probably not going to listen to you. So let me take you through a quick exercise. Give me the okay sign. All right. Now raise it nice and high in the air and place this on your chin.
Chin?
On your okay, how many of you went to your cheek? Now, this is just a very quick exercise to show you what's the power of this. I'm in a big room. I'm not able to do one-on-one matching and mirroring, and yet most of you followed this, okay? So watch this one. Be very other focused before you pick up the phone, get out of your car, think about, I'm going to match and mirror this person. It can make a big difference, all right? Let's go to number 2 here. managing expectations. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. Get in your groups, and why don't we, I'm going to divide the room. I'm going to divide it right here. Then I'm going to divide it right here. So you guys are in a group, you guys are in a group, you guys are in a group. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take you on a blind date. Has anybody been on a blind date? Okay, that look wasn't so good. Okay, was it not a good blind date?
Yeah, I've had better. I've had experiences both ways.
Okay, both ways. Okay, so what we're going to do is you guys are going to, for 60 seconds, everybody for 60 seconds, as fast as you can talk, think about what goes on in both the man and woman's head in the stage of the blind date that I'm going to assign to you, okay? Your stage is this. Prior to the blind date, what's going through both parties' head? You got 60 seconds. You guys are on the date. What's going through everybody's head, all right? And you guys, you're at the end of the date. What's going through everybody's head? The end of the date, okay? You got 60 seconds, go. What's the thoughts that are going on? Okay, 60 seconds. Let's go through the room before the date. Shallow. Okay,
It depends on your expectations and who set you up. It depends a lot of this stuff too.
What's that?
It depends on the
Who
expectations
set you
of
up?
who set you up.
Are you worried about your exit plan?
We were thinking, does she have weapons? One person wanted to know what her husband would think. Yeah.
Back. All right, this group.
What time is it?
What time is it? Oh, okay, date's not going so well. What else do you guys come up with?
What's the
I do not want to kiss this dude, he better not try and close me.
Say, what's the chemistry?
What's the chemistry? Is this working?
Right. That includes everything.
If you're questioning it, there's
They like
many.
us. Yeah, that
You guys are making me laugh. All right, are you worried about the exit plan?
No, I got the card.
They can get themselves on.
All right, okay, anything else?
You certainly can.
How about this, end of the date?
I always have one of those exit strategies, and it's a number that you can put on your phone, and then it'll call you at a certain time. And if you need to get out of the situation, if you need to get out of the situation, your phone will call you, and you can pretend like you're on a roll call with somebody, and I've
How do you do that these days?
I've only used it once.
There's an app for that.
Now we.
It is an app.
So here's our contention, is that a blind date is very similar to a first sales meeting. Yeah, because prior to the date, isn't the prospect going, why did I agree to this? Can I not get this on the internet someplace? Okay, and there's a little bit of angst there. Then when you get in the meeting, a lot of times is, what are we going to talk about? Or, will that person please quit talking? Are they ever going to quit talking? Are they really telling me the truth? Surely not everybody in their family can be fully functional, you know? And then at the end of the date, are they worried about what you're going to close them on, right? Or throughout the whole meeting, here's what's really happening. When's this salesperson going to try to do the first trial close? When are they going to close me? So you guys, what happens here, if you're worried about an exit plan, what's this going to cost me? When are you going to close me? Are they really paying attention to anything that you talk about? Very little. So you really want to set the expectations early on how we're going to do business, okay? So let's go to the next page and let's just talk about some basic principles here.
If he tells me when he's gonna kiss me, I'm done with the date.
Yep. You're done. Hey, Tom, is there any more water? Thank you. So let's talk about expectations. Basic principles here must be set before the selling event occurs. So you've really got to set the tone for the process. Hey, here's what we're going to do today. We're going to ask each other some questions, and you and I are going to figure out if this is a good fit for both of us. Set it before, thank you. Set it before it happens. How many of you do demos in here? Okay. How many of you have ever done a demo and the decision maker doesn't show up? The one that was supposed to?
Demos are only enough times to.
At the close of a deal, okay. So maybe I'll use this just as an example. I've had people go, okay, we're going to do a demo. It's at that selling stage, and the decision maker doesn't show up. An expectation that should have been set, hey, understand everyone gets busy. If Gary can't make it, I'm going to call you a day ahead of time. If Gary can't make it, we'll need to reschedule the demo. Set the expectation before the selling event.
If the demo is contained before the decision making.
Yeah, All right, so you set up the end of the meeting. Hey, let's figure out if we want to do business together. Make it a partnership. I'm not here to beg you. Now he caught what I got. Okay, now number 2 must be mutually agreed upon and understood. So here's what I want you guys to write down. Write down the definition of mutual agreement without using the word. So pretend you're rewriting Webster's dictionary. Write down the definition of mutual agreement. Ian, what'd you have?
Joint decision and commitment.
Joint decision and commitment. All right. What'd you have, Michael?
Bilateral contract.
Bilateral contract. Okay. What'd you have?
Both parties have congruent expectations.
Both parties have congruent expectations. What'd you have?
I said clearly state what will transpire over a time period, ending with a close.
Okay. Were they all good answers? Were they identical?
No.
No. So here's now, it's kind of an extreme exercise, but let's think about this. So I laid out the expectation. Write down the definition of mutual agreement, and we got different answers. How many of you have often thought you laid down the expectation, and yet you're showing up to the meeting and different things are happening? So here's what you want to write down in your notes. Any meeting should be able to pass the pop quiz. And the pop quiz is this. Keith, you're going to call in Ian for the first time next week. So I come up to you and I say, hey, what's the purpose or objective of the meeting? You give me your answer. Then I see Ian and I said, hey, I understand you're meeting with Keith. What's the purpose or objective of the meeting? Would the answers match? Yes or no?
Probably not.
Right, because we're 2 different people.
However, they should, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And now, I thought your answer, you know what? Did he lay it out? We're going to do this, this, and this, and there will be a close, possibly. Now, I might make a close or not to not kick the amygdala off, but I'm just using that as an example. But you definitely knew what his expectation was, right?
Well, the client knows what your expectation of a meeting with him
Yeah.
is.
You know what? We're going to see if we want to close this deal or not. If that's the appropriate time, don't dance around it. So here's the big thing, though, you guys. If your prospect doesn't know this is my objective, you're showing up to meetings and sometimes wasting time.
Right.
Okay? And then the right decision maker isn't in the room, or you need to get budget, whatever the appropriate step is there. Let's look at a third one. Eliminate leading questions. So we've talked about this because if you're going to manage expectations, if we could, would you want to, is not managing expectations, it's leading. And it kicks that amygdala off. So get rid of leading questions. A basic principle of influence is this. People want control and choice. And if you take it away by trying to craft questions that lead them to a close, they will fight you every step of the way. And if they're meeting with a competitor that isn't doing that tactic, that's who they're going to go with. So the more control, let's see if this works for you, Bob. I don't know if it's going to or not. Lose the attachment to the outcome of the meeting. If you are attached to closing, you will not close. You don't ask the right questions, you don't ask the tough questions, you don't ask enough questions. Lose the attachment, all right? Now, let's finish this one with what are 3 ways that a sales meeting, a sales call can end? What are 3 ways that it can end?
Yes, no.
Yes. Now, here's what I want you to do with the maybe. Cross it out. Because what's a maybe?
No.
It's a no. We don't know what it is. So it could be a no or a yes. So what you always want to train your brain to think is it's a clear next step. Only if you feel there should be a clear next step. How many of you have run a second meeting simply because the prospect asked you to? And you're going, why are we meeting again? Because I think you're giving me the feeling, Keith, that you have no money. So is there a reason we're going to meet again? Or no interest, or no value, or it's not a priority. So you guys, you can disqualify people. How many of you are saying no to people that you know aren't a fit? Yeah. The more you do it, the more time you free up. Now, clear next steps then might be what? Time, roles. What are we going to do? What are we going to cover? And oh, by the way, at the end of the meeting, let's figure out if we want to make a decision to move forward or not. All right? So watch the maybe, because I don't know which one it is for you. Certain personality styles, tend to give you a maybe, and actually they're still moving forward, you just don't know. All right? So manage the expectations early. Make sure it's a partnership. Don't be asking the crazy leading questions. They don't work. Okay? Now, let's go to
Can I ask you a
the...
question? Because
Yes.
a lot of what you're saying really runs against what, most of us have been taught for the last 2 decades.
Right.
So is it that those things never worked, or that the customers have changed? Are they more savvy to sales techniques?
Yes. Well, you got a couple things going on. Back in the day, your value as a salesperson was product knowledge, because you had, how many remember 3 TV channels? ABC, NBC, CBS. Yes,
4.
and you had to actually get up and turn the channel. Do you remember those days? I mean, that was child abuse. Hey, it's your turn. You get up and turn the channel, all right? So you have a couple of things. Your value has changed. They can get on the internet and know all about that, all right? So they are more sophisticated. There's also more competition, right? Because small companies can look big on the web, big companies, what have you. So you've got more competition. They're more sophisticated. So that means I don't have to put up with that kind of sales call anymore. And then think about how the sales training has definitely evolved. I grew up in feature advantage benefit selling.
There you go.
Yeah. And it worked because product knowledge was your value proposition. It's a commodity now. It's how you position the product knowledge. Does that help?
It does, because it's, again, one of those things that in, my early sales career, that's exactly what we were taught.
Oh, yeah.
Feature product benefits, or feature advantage benefits, all those sort of, closing, you have to get 7 closes.
So wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree, Ian?
Exactly.
Yeah. When somebody says, wouldn't you agree to me? I'm like, no, I will not agree for any, I don't even care if it's a good idea, okay? Because what happens to my brain? Yeah. And by the way, here's another thing. Wouldn't you agree is legalese talk, right? Now, how many Law and Order shows were there on years ago?
Right.
Yeah, and don't kid yourself. So media makes a difference in your day-to-day world. I'll give you an example out of my husband's world. So everybody's watching Law and Order or NCI, all these shows. They have actually had to change how they do Bordeaux, jury selection, because they'll have to sit there and go, okay, folks, now listen, we're not going to be able to have 5 investigators on this case, and you're not going to have DNA either. Because they had a few cases that started getting walked because everybody's going, well, you guys didn't have any DNA. They're like, you half the time you don't. So it was TV that was dictating how jurors were making decisions.
Wow.
Yeah. So watch what happens on the macro level. It infiltrates. Yes.
One big change that's happened because of the internet is
Yeah, you
just
know, I speak
increase
to
our
this everywhere,
awareness of things going on around us. And so that increased awareness doesn't get discussed much, but the people are much more aware of everything else that's happening around the world right now than ever in the past.
Yeah.
But how are you distinguishing, wouldn't you agree from like an embedded command in NLP, you'll agree that
I don't use a lot of the you'll agree. Now, you are better at NLP. Are you like a master?
it was years and years ago.
Yeah.
I started.
That piece, I stay away from anything that makes people feel like they're getting cornered. Now, this I think is NLP language, is I'll use language like, not sure if you need to do this, not sure if this is a value, because the brain usually can't take in some of the not sure, don't know, and then it hears it, but it's also very disarming. And it puts that person, it keeps them in control. And that's what I find people fight for. Well, here's what you want to do. And I heard this from Dan Sullivan. I mean, it's called role reversal during a sales meeting. It's a very powerful skill. I think he said it brilliantly. He runs Strategic Coach. He was on one of our VOEs. And he said, when you go into a meeting, switch hats. You put the buyer hat on and make them put the salesperson hat on and convince me you need me. Now, it's not arrogant. It's not cocky. It's simply, if you've got a problem, convince me. See, give me some evidence, because, see, the logical thing is, if I had some empathy, I'd go, I'm not hearing a big enough, see, if I'm not attached to the outcome, I will say things like this. I'm not hearing a big enough reason for you to spend money, and I'd love to take your money. I have said that on calls. Now, one of two things happens. There isn't a reason or commitment. Can be, in my business, it's going to be one. There's not a reason or commitment, all right? Or they cough it up finally because they feel safe enough. Do you see what happens? But it's simply, it's really truth-telling. That's all you're doing, is telling the truth. If I didn't hear a problem, and if I were in your shoes, I wouldn't be spending the money. And I did tell this, we have a young man, he'll probably be coming into training in February. I will tell you, a couple of times I said to that business owner, I don't know if this is the best investment. And I meant it sincerely, because you know what? There were just some things that weren't adding up. So long conversation, he's still going to be coming in. But we had a thorough conversation, should you be spending these dollars? It is reverse psychology. They'll call it that. But I also find out it's just kind of common sense. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Does that help? Did that give you the answer? When they've got the right person on board, absolutely. Yeah. But no, for me, when I was learning this process, it was painful. I'm not just saying that to do trainer, speaker. Painful, because I taught featured advantage benefit selling, and I was a garment rep. Thread count, die lots. Whew. Yeah. Just let me get my bag and dump it. And now I went into a business, I sell dust. Okay, what am I selling? Well, I got a training manual. Yeah, okay. All right, so let's go into the next stage. And this one, you guys, for who had the, this is going to start helping on the price objections. And really what happens with price objections is we're not looking and sounding different from the beginning. So here's what I'd like you to do. Write down in the left-hand column here, top 3 benefit of your company. So write down, if somebody was to say, and this is how I'll couch it to get you in the right frame of mind. Hey, tell me about your company. Why should I buy from you? What are the top 3 benefits? And Ian, I'm going to show you, you segued us into this nicely. I'm going to show you how you now do the opposite of benefit, okay? So top 3 benefits, write those down in your page. Right, Bob, what'd you write down?
Well,
Hey,
accessible.
Okay, I'm going to take one, yeah, so accessible. Okay, Tom, did you and Wendy do it, or are you?
Oh, I have smart people, great networking, and education training.
Okay, Keith, what'd you have?
Solutions-based, wide variety of manufacturing processes.
Okay, so now I'm going to stop there. Now, here's what I want you to think about. Flip over to your competitor's hat. By the way, you should be studying your competitors, so you know where the gaps are. And I'm a prospect, so you guys came in at 1 o'clock. I ran an appointment with you. I asked the question, why your company? Why should I buy from you? I'm a very fair prospect. At 2 o'clock, I'm running a meeting with your biggest competitor. I'm asking them the same question. Tell me what they would respond. How would they answer that question? How would they answer their top 3 benefits? What would be one of them?
I haven't found a competitor yet.
Well, God, but you're in great shape, okay? All right. Is a competitor doing nothing?
Well, in one part of my business, I'm a financial educator online. And
Okay.
And I really haven't found anybody else that does what I do.
Okay, all right. Okay, so that one we might just let you go. You might just need to kick up the market. How about smart people? Who would you?
We just changed it because our competitor would probably have the same thing, so we changed ours to futurist, more futurist thinking and visionary more. That would be us.
Yeah. Okay, and we'd put them.
And they would
Okay.
be smart people because we're the only, I mean, we're one of the few companies here that more work with the visionary futurist type
Right.
stuff.
Okay. All right.
Because we have.
That's right. How about solutions based?
Value, cost.
They'd say value over here. Okay. Value, maybe lower cost. Okay. All right. How about variety? Who had variety? You had variety. Okay. What would they say?
They might say focused.
Focused. Okay. Now, is it fair to say that your competitor would also say all of these things?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here's a couple of things, you guys. With this exercise, one of the reasons feature advantage benefit selling doesn't work, and it probably never did, because here's what would happen to me. I actually used to stumble across what I'd call pain. I would say our garments match the die lot every year. And they would go, oh my gosh, we've had things that have faded. We've had to purchase too soon before budget. It kicked off a pain point. You stumbled into it, I think is what we did half the time back then. All right, so 2 things though. How do people buy, emotionally or logically?
Emotionally.
What's everything up here? Pretty logical, okay? So number 1, pardon?
Are you talking
That
only
list was
about
just
consumer goods?
No, I'm just talking about everything we've got up here. Solutions-based, variety, focus, value, all very logical terms, okay? So people buy emotionally, yet we speak in logic, okay? So, gee, why? I'm going to show you how this works. Then, benefit language is commodity language, so you're looking and sounding like your competitor, all right? The other thing you need to know with the brain, it cannot take in intangible. It can't take in the intangible. So when we use words like streamline, efficiency, it doesn't see it. The brain wants to see a picture, and there's a book made to stick. And so I'll give you an example out of their book. High performance is an intangible. V8 engine is tangible. So what you've got to do with your sales copy and your marketing copy, you need to paint word pictures. You need to create scenes in their mind that, oh my gosh, now I know she knows my problem. So when we talk, like one of our pain statements, if we're calling on engineering firms, well, we're working with engineering firms that spend an entire week writing a proposal, using lots of resources, only to come in second place. What picture are we painting? Lots of hours, late hours, etc. All right? Instead of saying, we help you win more business. Everybody's going to say that. You've got to paint a picture of the problem you solve here. So the other one is stop talking like a sales doctor. You guys didn't do too badly there. We get some people that elevate their speak, and you can't even understand what they're saying. And I go, do you talk like that at home? And, you know, for example, we worked with a group, and they had this really neat logistics. It was in the construction business. It was very much logistics, getting trucks there on time, and all they were talking about, streamline your processes. We make you more efficient. And by the time we worked with them on their value prop, here's what they did. And they would call on general contractors and said, we work with general contractors that are tired of having a bunch of guys standing around, they're paying to do nothing, staring at a black hole. Because that's what happens if the trucks don't show up. You got a bunch of people, what? Standing around, looking at, do you see the picture? You got really visceral and you got granular with the problem here. So one of the things, like let's take, let me take you through the process. You'd go, so what on this? Okay, so if you go over to the next page, you guys, what you want to do, here's the methodology, is you start with the benefit, because most of us think that way anyway. But you'd go, well, what happens without that benefit? So if it's not solution-based, what happens if it's not solution-based?
Lose your get rid of your employees and.
Sometimes it's that. In your business, what would it be?
Face the check, they go out of business.
Pardon?
They go out of business.
Now they'll think that's Chicken Little talk, so don't go there.
Or they can't invest in new product development.
Okay, they're getting behind in new product development. The competitors beating them to the market. Do you see? So profits is logical, you guys. Never say I can make you more money, save you money, because the brain can't take it in. And it's the impact of not making money. It's the impact of not having money. So that's what these columns are. What's the impact? What's the impact? And you mentioned spin.
Yes.
So Neil Rackham is really the one that introduced impact questions into the sales training world, and it's what's the impact or consequence. And when you can speak in that language and ask questions around that, you raise close ratios 50% according to his research. Okay, so let's see. If they're not, well, you don't have any competition, I'm not going to work on you. Now, if they don't have access to financial information, what's the impact of that?
Well, if they don't have, the access to me to gain the financial education,
Yeah.
The impact is that their portfolios could lose drastic amounts of money. They won't be able to retire. Very serious implications
Yeah.
right down the road.
So we're working with people that, frankly, in this economy, don't know what to do with their money. You know, you say they don't. That paint the picture. They don't know what to do with their money, and in fact, some of their portfolio is going down. They're worried they're not going to have enough money to live on. Can't send their kid to college of choice. You remind them of all the problems that are solved by having money.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
You say that stating that you can save them money, and if you do a proper value proposition, you should be able to state what that dollar amount is. Are you saying that doesn't have an impact?
Save you money doesn't really have as much of an
I can save you
impact.
$1 million a quarter. That has no impact based on certain parameters.
Well, now think about it. If a salesperson came in and said, I can save you $1 million per quarter, do you believe them?
No. If you've done already a proper value prop, you should have that. That's what I'm saying.
So if they don't save $1 million, what's the problem you're solving for them that can
Lower
save?
inventories.
Okay, that's where I go. You know, it's a value proposition be, we're working with, I'm just going to play with it, we're working with people that frankly are tired of seeing lots of money tied up in inventory,
Right.
which means that they can't grow, invest.
Right.
Yeah. So I wouldn't go right to the save. I would go to the inventory problem because they can see that. And then your solution is going to show them, oh, by the way, this is going to save you $1 million too. So if they've got too much inventory, you go, well, what's wrong with that? Right? Well, we can't do this. Well, when you can't do this, how's that impact? Yeah. Okay. All right. But this is the formula for it. So I wanted to give you that. But it's start with the benefit and then keep peeling it back. Okay. Now, let's go here to the next page. So, you know, how many of you have heard, this does come out of the old sales training, when a prospect or customer grabs the hook. So you actually design these, hey, listen, we've had people that are just frustrated that all their money's tied up in inventory, and as a result, they can't hire, trade, you know, whatever the thing is. They go, wow, that's us. First thing you need to do when they grab the hook is apply impulse control. Do not wrestle them to the ground. You need to take them through a questioning sequence. You get so excited, you go, ah! Yeah, like if they come into our office and they'll say, you know what, my reps are just, they're not prospecting enough. My mindset is, prove it to me. And I'll say, you know what, I hear that every day. Tell me what makes you think your reps are worse than anybody else's. Now, do you see what I've just shifted? Yeah. So number 2, apply critical thinking skills. Because when they share a problem with you, I'm having a problem with, here's what I want you to write down in your notes. Critical thinking skills are you doubt the data. Okay, instead of believing the data, you doubt the data. So you can tell me, see, you say, I'm having a problem prospecting. Well, here's 3 things. Do I really know why that's a problem? No. Do I know what the impact is to you if you've got a prospecting problem? And do I know what the impact is in the future? So anytime you hear a prospect state, I'm having a problem with, you kind of push back and go, wonder why that's a problem. Wonder what the impact is today. Wonder what the impact is in the future. It's like and it shifts you out of that impulse control and gets you back to the logical going, wonder why it's a problem. Tell me about that. What's the impact to you?
What was the why, what?
Excuse me. So when you do have somebody that shares a problem or they grab your hook, so to speak, you immediately go into, the thinking mode. Why is that a problem? What's the impact to them today, and what's the impact in the future?
Okay.
And you want to be asking questions that gets you to those answers. I call it, and if you look at the bottom, it's look for evidence, not information. See, when they share a problem with you, you have no evidence that it's really a problem. I get that one out of the law world too. So if somebody brings Jim a case, as much as he likes trial, he doesn't take something to trial because that's just information. He needs proof. Excuse me. Not sure where this, I'm choking up. Ah. So that's a biggie. Did you hear information or did you get evidence? And when you have evidence, they have to prove the business case to you. It's a big difference in mindset. Okay? Now, so this is a qualifying step. First of all, get a good value prop, and then test the data. Is the problem big enough to fix? What's the impact? Why is it a problem? Quit doing the assumption thing there. Now, let's go to the next page. This is your world, and go to decision making here. So this is a great chart. Now, when you take a look, this is for more complex sales. Who is calling on more than one decision maker in here? Okay, so here's usually what you'll find. How many of you have heard of these nice little buying influences? Economic buyer, user, influencer, power. Now, if you haven't, let me just give you the scenario. Economic buyer is generally the check writer. Can often be a CFO. The user buyer is the person that actually has to execute whatever you bring in. Okay? Often they'll find that's where the pain is. Now, the influencer is the wife. No. That's your wife. But the influence is a group of people that may not use your product, may not sign off, but they can impact it. So truly it can be trusted advisors. It can be somebody's CPA, financial planner, and if you haven't met with them, they can take the deal down. And then the power buyer is often what we call the CEO. So the ultimate. In certain situations, they can be all three of these people, or all four of these people. Now here's what I want you to take a look at though. You've got to run meetings with all of these people, because when you take a look, DISC is a communication model. It's high driver, high analytical, just on a real simple. Do you think these four buyers have different personality styles?
Yes.
Do you think there are different reasons they're going to buy?
Yes.
One is going to buy to mitigate risk, the other is to grow the company and take risk. You better know who you're in front of. Others are peacemakers, rock the boat. Now the second thing is, do they all have different stories?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got to find out what's their pain, what's their story, and oh, by the way, in order to get the conversation engaged, you need to customize value propositions for each buyer. Biggest mistake we see when we work with teams, first of all, the value props are usually like this, kind of feature, advantage, benefit. Then they get pretty good at this, but then they don't refine and hone them. And you want different talking points for each buyer, because it's empathy. I know your world. So in a company, if you've got 4 decision makers, you should have 4 different value props that you go in with. Okay? Is that making sense for everybody? Yeah. Now, and one of the things you can get in, this by the way is very nice on the linear chart. Decision stage is a little funky, because here's what happens. In a corporation, there's things called people, and it seems like every company makes decisions differently. So you really have to figure out how a company makes decisions, and then when you get in there, make sure you're meeting with all the buying influences. Okay?
What was DISC again?
DISC is a communication model, and it really is observable behavior. So they'll have a high driver. That's usually a direct person, bottom line, very results oriented. They have what you call the influencer, expressives.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You have the steady relator, peacemakers of the world, loyal, trustworthy, and then you've got the analyticals, cautious thinker.
Okay.
And so what we have found is if you aren't doing your pre-call planning to go, you know what, I got to come in loaded with stats, because he's going to buy strictly on evidence. That's the analytical.
You're trying to categorize the buyer in a certain...
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. Because we've seen reps, if they don't, if they get in front of a D, so let's say you're an expressive, those people, they get in front of a driver that wants to get down to business in 2 minutes, and the influencer's still having fun. Because they were taught to make small talk, and they were taught to build rapport. No, not with a high driver. 2 minutes, get going, rock and roll. And so, so from a likability, and also how these people make decisions. Okay? So you customize questions based on the personality style, you customize questions for the story, and you customize the value prop. This is, by the way, you can use for pre-call planning, and it takes delayed gratification. This is the tedious part, and salespeople don't like doing it. Much easier to wing it. We are finding in this day and age, you need to do more pre-call planning, have more strategy, otherwise you're not going to win. Start watching who they turn to in the room. Yeah. So it could be, and that's what makes this stage interesting, because the card sometimes doesn't dictate any of these beautiful little org charts. And you know what? They are totally into empowerment. I don't want to do it. Yeah. Exactly. And then so then you got to sell to the CFO. The CFO is really signing off on this, or the chief marketing officer is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we'll see people get stuck because they start here and then they don't know how to manage expectations to get these conversations. And so the competitor comes in, is more savvy at selling, and guess what? Because they got all the conversations, they actually present a better solution and the right solution because they've got everybody's criteria.
I actually went on the sales call once where there was a group of people, and one said, when they were announcing their roles, one said, "I'm the decider." That's all they said, "I'm the decider,"
Yeah.
which was funny. So.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there was no card, what was the title?
Yeah, yeah. That's what, like I said, watch this one because there's a lot of it. That's why sometimes you can interview people that are really entrenched in the company and you just figure out the politics, who do I need to meet with. I mean, I remember when I was back at Varsity and do you guys know what Varsity was? You actually probably know the company. It is now the largest in the world cheerleading and dance uniform company, and then the campsite. So have you guys ever seen the championships on ESPN? That's my old company, all right? So it was interesting when we were doing this big thing of getting laptops for all the reps and stuff, is all the consulting companies we were bringing in kept blowing past the designer. Well, what they didn't realize is how big design was in our business. Like these garments drove a lot of revenue because they're like, he's just the designer. Well, if you couldn't get that software to work on these computers, you weren't getting that business. And I remember the highest priced consulting firm got the business. And when I look back on it, I didn't know some of this when I was in corporate. We were just growing. So we just had our heads down all the time. The consulting firm that got this did this very well when I look back on it. Questions on this stage? So this is another qualifier stage. So first of all, did you get their story? Did you get their pain? Financial impact out of that? Strategic impact? Meet with all the decision makers. And then this next area is budget. So we'll go to checkbook as the third qualifying stage. So here's the question. When do you want to find out the prospect is willing and able to invest in your services? Check it off. Before doing a proposal or after? Okay, let's ask the second question. When do you find out the prospect is willing and able to invest in your product or services? Before or after? Do you find out before? Good, good. Anybody got a little bit of the after going on? Yeah. Yeah. So watch this one, you guys. This is probably the first thing I learned when I got in this business. They always have a budget. Even if it's not on a P&L, they have what you call choking point. Do you guys have you ever remodeled your house in any way? You know, so the first time you do that, you have no idea what it costs, but when somebody says it's this, you go, that's too much. That's what I talk about, choking point. So be careful on this one because they've always got a budget. You have to be assertive and skillful to get it, or you will write lots of practice proposals, or you end up redoing the proposals. Okay? Share with them what you did at IBM because it kind of ties into this it ties into all these three qualifiers. But it's a great, if you're into you got this big business stuff,
My experience was being in long sales cycles, but as you start to develop your value proposition, you start to develop a preliminary proposal and you stamp it on the top. And the clients become interested in looking at this preliminary proposal, and they also contribute to this preliminary proposal so that when you get down to the point where you've done or executed all the steps of the sales process, they are already familiar with this proposal. I guess I'm surprised.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. So here's what I'm looking at, and they start marking it up. You know,
Right.
Yeah, and you know, and they want the right thing. Now this is big enterprise software, but I think you could do more of that with people that if you know that, hey, wait a minute, there's a lot of working parts in this thing. Let me bring you the practice. I don't know what you'd call it, not a practice one, but would you call it a first draft or?
Preliminary. It takes the edge off too.
Yeah, I would use that as best practice if that would be appropriate for your business.
It also opens other doors to other organizations because people say they don't know this area. You got to go talk to this person.
Which is always a beautiful thing. So that would be your third qualifying stage. Okay, make sure they've got enough pain. Whining does not mean they will spend money. That's why you got to do why, what, all right? Make sure you're meeting with all the buying influences, and then are you willing and able to invest with me? Then and only then should you start presenting solutions. And three big things we'll see on what we call solution alignment or presentation skills is people get so excited that they finally get to speak that they start. It's fascinating to me. Let's say the prospect said, what's a problem that you guys can solve? Like, Ian, what's your business again?
Business relationship engineering. We handle social media solutions for all sorts of different things other than marketing.
Okay, so what's a problem you hear?
We don't get enough feedback from our customers.
Don't get enough feedback from your customers. So that is the only thing this customer talked about in all the meetings you had. So then you get a salesperson that's so excited. So, Ian, I think we can help you with the problem. Now, we are also national. We're local. We're big. Do you see what just happened here? You're talking about stuff that he doesn't care about. And so I've seen this happen where people all of a sudden come in with this generic presentation. So basically on this one, you guys present to the pain. And everything you're talking about, loop it back. And this is how we're going to handle that. Remember, Ian, when you shared with me, you had this problem? Here's how this solution. Now, it's called solution alignment because I find people make the prospect think too hard. And you'll present your solutions, but you haven't hooked it right to the pain. And they sometimes get it and sometimes don't. So number one, keep it to the pain. Know your audience, so know how you want to present it. And if you've got an analytical in there, if you've got stats, better know where they came from, because they're going to ask you where they came from. I've seen reps get screwed up on that one, me included. I'm not an analytical, all right? And then no death by PowerPoint. Watch this one, because even the companies that teach presentation skills will tell you to limit the PowerPoints. They get very complicated. So that's kind of wrapping it up here. I left some time for Q&A. I hope you got some takeaways tonight. So questions, answers, what's your biggest takeaway? What are you going to change? Because knowledge is not power. You do know that. Knowledge is only power if you do something with it. Made to Stick will give you some examples. You know, another good book out there is Neuromarketing. Have you guys heard of that one? Yeah. By Christoph. And he's got a whole website called the Sales Brain. And he's got some great examples in that book of contrast, which is a principle of influence as well, you know, before and afters. I think it's done brilliantly in the book. So it also gets into that tangible, and he talks about old brain stuff in the book as well. Yeah. Any other takeaways? Yes? Yeah. Just make it a goal. Absolutely. Good. Any other?
You know, I think one thing that really stuck for me is not just making it tangible, but making it emotionally tangible. So there's that connection point that I had missed. Very good.
And you know what? Listen to when you're meeting with a prospect, listen to what they say. They will actually give you your value proposition. So I'll give you an example from quite a few years ago, because print is not, you know, we did a lot of training in the print business probably 8 years ago, not as much. You know, today a lot of them are going away. But I heard this from a business owner on the phone. He said, "Oh, I am so frustrated. I feel like a quote shop, not a print shop." So when I would cold call into that industry, guess what I said on the phone? Well, we're typically working with business owners that frankly, they feel like a quote shop, not a print shop. See, you'll pick up things from your prospects. Yeah, just pay attention. You know, it wasn't my brilliance. You just pay attention to it. So they'll give you your value proposition statements. Yeah. Good. Any other questions? Any other takeaways? Time to send them home.
All right. Let's give her a big round of applause.
Now if I deserve it, you can clap.